To break it down, I want to first discuss sex as it is intertwined with a more definitive word that describes our body parts. And that word is anatomy. I think anatomy is a great word in the sex ed conversation because it clarifies exactly what it is we're talking about. The word sex is so much more gray. The English language is one of the most difficult to learn for the fact that certain words can represent many different things, and sex is one of them. In the queer vernacular, as of late, a lot of people are pushing to separate the word sex from gender and anatomy. And I'm one of those people because I don't see the value in confusing people. I'd rather be very clear in the interest of us being able to build bridges of understanding amongst one another. And I know that clear vocabulary is needed in order for us to communicate effectively. Because in this world, language is a necessary tool. We run into problems when we don't have the language needed for us to adequately understand our complexities as human beings, as sexual beings. When our biology is referred to on our driver's licenses, we see the word sex before either an M or an F, or sometimes an X, depending on what state you're in. And I find that to be so very confusing because as we know, sex can mean a myriad of different things. So to talk about anatomy, I'm going to guide you through a very elementary understanding of what is known in the sex ed discussion as our reproductive anatomy. Though what you'll find is that not every bit of this anatomy exists solely for the purpose of reproduction, contrary to what a more archaic and limited understanding of human existence will tell you about our bodies. For this to really make sense, I would like for us to understand this bit of the discussion surrounding our body parts as sexual anatomy. In my 5th, 6th, and 7th grade level sex ed classes, we do this without incorporating gender, which I'm sure is very unique to most of your sex ed experiences. I want to say duality between two definitive forms of biology is undeniable because of how babies are conceived and what our bodies produce and release in order to make that happen. But we can actually throw gender to the wayside here because it's totally irrelevant to this basic biology. And there are also exceptions to this rule of duality that we will also be talking about. So I want to bring up my sex ed diagrams. Like I'm giving y'all a full-on intro sex ed course. Don't get scared. So it's so amazing when you think about how our bodies behave naturally. Sperm is, sperm-producing bodies naturally generate sperm cells in the testicles to be stored in the epididymis, which are inside the testicles. These sperm cells need to be preserved at a certain temperature in order for them to thrive. So the scrotum will either shrink to bring the testicles up closer to the body if they get too cold, or expand to release them further away from the body if they get too hot. The magical phenomenon we know as the period is a means of an egg-producing body performing a self-cleaning process all on its own. A body with a uterus is born with all of the eggs it could ever release stored in the ovaries. That's around 1 million eggs, about the size of a grain of sand. And they get released once a month naturally from the ovaries out through the fallopian tubes into the uterus, where they disintegrate, and then the body cleans itself to start the process all over again. This naturally rids the body of bacteria. Again, reproduction isn't the only purpose for this anatomy, and it's amazing what the body does all on its own to take care of itself. The high protein fluid we know as semen is created inside of a sperm-producing body only when enough blood runs through the penis, making it hard. As we know, this is often connected to raw emotional impulses, sensitive nerve endings in the penis reacting to touch, or sometimes brainwaves that signal the body into a relaxed state, allowing blood flow to move into newly open spaces. At this point, the body is literally adjusting itself into sex mode. Thus, an erection occurs. We actually have very little control over this when it happens, which really speaks, I think, to the mystique of our sexual selves. Clitoral erections. Clitoral erections happen the exact same way in an egg-releasing body. The same stimulants that can cause a penis to go erect cause the clitoris to go erect. The only difference is that the sexual anatomy of a person with a uterus is all on the inside. So we can't see it nearly as plainly with the naked eye. When the clitoris goes erect. We can, however, see that the clitoral hood will pull back, exposing the external butt of it, otherwise known as the glans. At the time of a clitoral erection, we may also see that the vaginal lips, both the labia minora and majora, become a bit swollen. The vagina also secretes a natural lubricant all on its own, which is pretty magical. The sole purpose of the clitoris, I want to make this very clear, the sole purpose of the clitoris is to make a person feel good, which is just incredible and not nearly talked about enough. It's so funny to me that people can't fathom that our bodies could be equipped with sexual anatomy that exists simply to soothe us and to make us feel amazing. And I see this as a means of the body wanting to take care of itself. Everything on your body that makes you feel good was meant to make you feel good. The shame that a lot of us carry around surrounding our sexual anatomy is a direct result of our oppressive societal limits on how we are taught to behave. Also to that point, the fact is, a lot of our body parts have multiple different purposes. The tongue is for both speaking and tasting. The urethra of a penis is for both urinating and ejaculating, and so on. And because of this, we can say that the penis was also meant to make us feel good. The prostate gland not only provides protein for the sperm and fluid compound that is semen, it's also meant to make us feel good. The nerve endings that naturally exist around the prostate gland can only be activated when something enters the body anally, to trigger a sensation that is oftentimes a direct pathway to orgasm. Anal, oral, vaginal, whatever. I really want to implore everyone here not to listen whenever somebody tries to tell you something that the body does naturally is unnatural. An orgasm is such a beautifully natural bodily function that can take you to a higher plane of existence for a moment in time. And the pathways to orgasm are ever vast, and the intricacies to our magical bodies are too. So do not be fooled.